So the topic today I want to talk about is having kids and how many you should have and how many you shouldn't have. And so what it's going to come down to is if you have the financial resources to do it and the mental capacity to be able to take care of kids. So first, get your financing and your housing situation in order so that way you can actually raise kids properly and not have them in a chaotic household in an environment where they don't know if they have a house or not because you were unable to properly secure that. And also make sure that you have the mental fortitude to be able to take care of your kids, because if you can't take care of your kids properly and raise them properly, you're going to be adding to the overwhelming pile of shitty people in the world, and we don't really need any more of that. We need good people who are going to help others and take care of others and help us succeed in this world that we're stuck in right now. Because the world's a shitty place right now, and we don't need it to be any worse than it already is. We actually need it to be better so we can live more fruitful and happier lives. And recently I saw this video of two guys talking on a podcast, and one dude was talking to another guy that he had on. He goes, "Hey man, how many kids do you plan on having?" And he goes, "I don't know, maybe like 1 to 2. And he's like, 1 to 2? You should have more than that." And he's like, "Why?" My initial thought of it is like, yeah, why do I want more kids? That just sounds like a problem. And so what dude said opened my eyes. He goes, "Because there needs to be more people like you in the world." And that just hit me deep. And I was like, yeah, there should be. There should be more people who care and want to help other people and be there for other people. And then he goes on like, "I'm going to have 10 kids myself." And I'm like, that's a little extreme, but yeah, man, if you can afford it and do it, go for it. And he goes on to say, because I want there to be that many people to replace me, because I can't just have 1-to-1, right? Where it's just one person who's replacing you, and they might not do as good of a job as you do. They might not do as good of a job as more of you could if there was more. And that changed my entire perspective on having kids, because there needs to be more good people in the world if more good people are reproducing, right? There's people who think to have kids properly and how to raise them properly. They get their finances straight. They get their living situation straight. They have the mental fortitude. They're able to actually instill good morals and values into them rather than just being frustrated all the time with just the kids that they have. And like, oh, my life, oh, I don't have enough money, and all this turmoil that they bring upon themselves. And then they bring kids into that. It's like, what are you doing? You're just causing other people to suffer with you because you goofed up and put yourself in a position that you weren't ready to handle. And so to prevent people from doing that is to get your life in order so you can have kids and raise them properly. And that's where a lot of the world is messing up. We're having kids and not being ready for it in any capacity, whether it's mental, financial, or they don't have the resources to be able to raise another person, let alone a couple of other people. And that's the thing too. When you do have kids and you start raising them, they're seeing everything you're doing. Their life is whatever you are. And when you do have kids and start raising them, you need to be aware that everything you do, your kids are absorbing. They're taking into themselves, because that's how they see life. They see life like this, and you're right in front of them. They don't see and think about everyone else going on in the world. They just see what you're doing and the life that you've exposed them to. And if your life is just centered around going to work, coming home, being stressed out about not having money, your house being a mess, and how your kids are, out of control, or that's how they're going to live their life. They're going to live their life similar to what you're doing because of the experiences and the life that you are providing to them. You need to keep that in mind, because your actions are greatly affecting on how your kids turn out. If your kids are misbehaving and being big pains in the butt, that is your fault. You are doing that. You are causing your kids to have these undesirable traits and these bad behaviors. And if your responses are to yell at them and freak out about everything that they're doing wrong, you are failing your child as a parent. You are not instilling any good morals and values. You are just creating a very hostile and stressful environment for them to be in, and all they just want to get out of it. And that's their main focus, is to get out of it, rather than you teaching them how to be outstanding adults. You're just teaching them how to survive, and they're just surviving with you. You need to take a step back and look at that, or even just ask them directly, like, hey, what are some things that I'm doing that you don't like? Let me know. And then you need to assess that as a parent. If they say, well, you yell at me too much. Okay, cool. Now you need to figure out how to lead without having to yell at them so much. Like, there's a difference between yelling and stern. Like, yelling is like screaming at them, bold-faced, and you don't exactly recall what you said to them. Now, being stern is coming and talking to them and saying, I asked you to get this done. Why isn't it done? And then they say, well, this because. Okay, well, we're stopping whatever you're doing, and now we're going to do this. And while also talking to them sternly and getting your point across, you also need to be able to enforce it. So if there's going to be punishments for it, like, okay, now you're grounded for a week. You are grounded for 1 week. Do not say grounded for a week and then do it for 2 days. Grounded for a week and do it for 3 days. It is 1 week. Mean exactly what you say. Do not go and loophole and everything, because they're going to figure that out. That's how it works. That's how the system works. They're going to figure out that there is a loophole. They're going to exploit it. And now you're continuing to reinforce bad behavior because they are not respecting you. They're respecting the loophole and being able to wiggle out and get out of these situations. And also, I'd like to reflect back onto when we were kids. Wouldn't it have been nice to grow up in a nice house, to have nice cars, to have money, to have food, to have proper clothes to wear? It would be nice. But Our parents goofed up before that. Now we are becoming the parents, and we need to lay out that path to where we have fruitful and successful lives that our children can follow. We need to be cutting out a path through the brush and laying down the road for them to follow. And when we reach our end of being able to cut out that path, they can take on that path. They can pick up where we left off and continue to carve and pave that road for their children all the way through to the end, so we can have generational wealth for our family and so that our generations can live fruitful lives.